Hello everyone, Darko 2012 here with Global Government News, and I'm reading an article titled Google Keep User Data Safe by Letting Us Hoard It Forever. And this is, of course, after the whole Google in China incident with hackers and viruses and that. And, you know, what they're saying is that that Google is actually going to come out of this in the end better off because, and I was wondering because I read an article down here that I'm going to link to, I'm going to read to afterwards. Was it an inside job? Google probing its own employees over a cyber attack. If this was an actual another like false flag type attack, um, because what do they get in the end? They get to retain the Google search, all the data, who it is, the IP addresses, all that. They get to keep it for a longer time. They're saying if they had this, they would have been able to at least prevent it or figure out who did it, who did the attack in China. So, in the year 2010, the year of false flag terrorism, terrorist attacks, this is yet another incident here. So let me go ahead and read it, and I'll get into the other article to link them up together. Google has sought to turn its China crisis to its advantage by arguing it demonstrates why it should be allowed to hang on to search logs indefinitely. Privacy Supremo Peter Fleischer told ComputerWorld in an interview that, quote, the unprecedented hacking and the threat of similar such attacks in the future emphasize the importance of internal analysis of logs. Google has been under particular pressure in Europe to stick a time limit on how long it hangs on to information that it can be used to identify searchers. In 2008, at half the time, it hung on to info to just 9 months, a cut that still did not was in favor with the Eurocrats. It continues to hold data beyond that date, but it says it does not hold the full IP address of users, effectively anonymizing the data, but still making it useful to the world's largest ad blocker. Microsoft had upped the ante by lowering the amount of time it hangs on the data about Bing users to 6 months, which would be significant if anyone used the service. We find it reprehensible that a company would throw away useful data when it holding it poses no privacy threat, which illustrates how Google's view of privacy differs from many other people's and ignores the possibility of the data becoming a privacy and/or security threat if it fell into the hands of, say, the Chinese hackers. Fleischer also called for the creation of an EU panel featuring data protection and cybersecurity experts. This demand will be part of a submission to Europe's Article 29 Committee on Data Protection, in which it will also rule out any further reduction in the amount of time it holds on to data. This could presumably mean Fleischer spending even more time in Brussels. In December 2008, he was asked to join an EU quango, which would advise on future data protection legislation. Of course, Fleischer's not the only one who believes that the best way to preserve security and sell few ads as well is by hoarding every bit of information a user generates. This is the same principle behind the UK government's interception modernization program, except for the ads flogging bit. We asked Google if we could add anything more to Fleischer's comments or confirm if he was still serving on the data protection panel and they're still holding on to the data. And then we move over to this other article, like I said, is from NewYorkDailyNews.com. Was it an inside job? Google probing its own employees over cyber attack, and this was published on January 18th, 2010. It says Google is investigating whether one or more employees may have helped facilitate a cyber attack that the U.S. search giant said it was a victim of mid-December. Two sources told Reuters on Monday. Google, the world's most popular search engine, said last week it may pull out of the world's biggest internet market by users after reporting it had been hit by a sophisticated cyber attack on its network that resulted in the theft of intellectual property. The sources who are familiar with the situation told Reuters that the attack, which targeted people who have access to specific parts of Google networks, may have been facilitated by people working in Google's China's office. We're not commenting on rumor or speculation. This is an ongoing investigation, and we simply cannot comment on the details, a Google spokesman said. Security analysis told Reuters that malicious software or malware used in the Google attack was a modification of a Trojan called Hydric. A Trojan is malware that once inside the computer allows someone to unauthorized access. The sophistication in the attack was in knowing whom the attack, not the malware itself. Local media citing unnamed sources reported that some Google China employees were denied access to internal networks after January 13th, while some staff were put on leave and others transferred to different offices in Google's Asia Pacific operations. Google said it would not comment on its business operations. And finishing up here, it says, talk soon. Google, which has denied rumors that it has already decided to shut down its China offices, said on Monday it contacted the Chinese government last week after the announcement. And they were quoted as saying, "We are going to have talks with them in the coming days." Google is also still in the process of scanning its internal network since the cyber attack in mid-December. China has tried to play down the Google's threat to leave, saying that there are many ways to resolve the issue, but insisting all foreign companies, Google included, must abide by Chinese laws. Washington said it was issuing diplomatic note to China formally requesting. And then just down here it says the Google issue risk becoming another irritant in China's relationship with the U.S. Ties are already strained by arguments over the yuan currency exchange rate, which U.S. critics say is unfairly low. Trade protection and U.S. arms sales to Taiwan. Washington has long been worried about Beijing's cyber spying program. A congressional advisory panel said in November the Chinese government appeared increasingly to be penetrating U.S. computers to gather useful data for the military. So that's pretty much it. I don't have the full details on this issue, and if anybody knows more about it, or if I'm reading this wrong, just leave your comments and let me know. I'm open to whatever you guys have. As far as seeing the bigger, broader picture here, as far as what the purpose of this was, if Google, someone within Google, mostly a Chinese worker, why they would want to do this, and if Google would want this to happen, why, or did they, what I'm getting at as far as some kind of conspiracy or whatever. So thanks for checking it out and leave your comments.